Are you preparing for AZ-104, also known as Microsoft Azure Administrator, but not sure about the case studies kind of question? Well, you have reached to the right video. Hello and welcome back to the Tech Blackboard. Today's video is on AZ-104 exam questions, and in today's video we are going to focus just on case study kind of questions. This is one of the most requested topic on our channel and I really understand why. Looking at the complexity of case studies, many people are not fully prepared, which costs them heavily and they miss to pass the exam. So I will make sure that you are fully prepared on AZ-104 case studies, while you are requested to make sure to press that like button. In today's episode, I will give you some basic generic guidelines on case studies. Then of course, I will share a case study and will take questions and answers based on that. In the last section of the video, I will share some of my exam tips on case study that will help you handle them better in the examination. Just to remind you friends that I have already made a video on AZ-104 case study, and in this video I showcased a sample case study from none other than Microsoft. Also, I gave a lot of information around AZ-104 that included details like what is AZ-104, who should do it, what are the different types of questions expected in AZ-104, what is the exam duration, how can you schedule the exam, what is the exam fee, and lot of other things are covered in this video. So do watch this video as well to get an overall understanding on AZ-104. The link is shared in the description box. Now friends, case study is a type of question in which you would be given a real business case or business need or business scenario. It normally starts with an overview followed by the requirements section where you would be presented with business goals. This section also includes technical requirements and user requirements. The other section that can be presented in a case study are planned changes and planned environment. And please do not worry if you don't understand any of these details. We will look upon all these sections when we will take a sample case study. Now let's look at some of the generic guidelines on case studies that you will also find when attempting exam. The first guideline says that case studies are not timed separately. You can use as much exam time as you would like to complete each case. However, there may be additional case studies and section on this exam. You must manage your time to ensure that you are able to complete all the questions included on this exam in the time provided. The second guideline says that to answer the questions included in the case study, you will need to reference information that is provided in the case study. Further, it says that case studies might contain exhibits and other resources that provide more information about the scenario that is described in the case study. Each question is independent of other questions in the case study. Then the third guideline says that at the end of case study, a review screen will appear. This screen allows you to review your answers and to make changes before you move to the next section of the exam. After you begin a new section, you cannot return to this section. So very important to note, once you have moved ahead of a case study, you cannot come back, unlike the other type of questions where you can come back and edit your answers. And friends, at the end of this video, I will give you some tips that you can follow to better handle case study type of questions. So watch the video very carefully and please do not skip any part of the video. Now let's gear up and read our first case study. The first section to appear is overview. So the overview section says that the Blackboard Limited is a manufacturing company that has offices worldwide. Blackboard works with partner organizations to bring products to the market. Blackboard products are manufactured by using blueprint files that the company authors and maintains. The next section we have is existing environment details. So here it says that currently Blackboard uses multiple types of servers for the business operation, including the following. So here we have file servers, we also have domain controllers, and lastly we are given with Microsoft SQL Server. Moving ahead, it says that your network contains an Active Directory forest named blackboard.com. All the servers and client computers are joined to Active Directory. You have a public facing application named App1. App1 is comprised of following three tiers. And here we have a SQL database. We also have a web front end. Also given is a processing middle tier. The last line in the existing environment says that each tier consists of 5 virtual machines. Users access the web front end by using HTTPS only. Here, please note that this is HTTPS, which is a secure protocol. It is not HTTP, which is the normal, or should I say the unsecured protocol. Moving ahead, we have requirements section. Here we have planned changes. Here it says that the Blackboard plans to implement the following changes to the infrastructure. The first point says that move all the tiers of App 1 to Azure. Then we have moved the existing product blueprint files to Azure Blob Storage. The third planned change given is that create a hybrid directory to support an upcoming Microsoft 365 migration project. Moving ahead, we have technical requirements. Here it says that Blackboard must meet the following technical requirements. The first one is move all the virtual machines for App 1 to Azure. Then we have minimize the number of open ports between App 1 tiers. The third one is ensure that all the virtual machines for App 1 are protected by backups. The fourth one is copy the blueprint files to Azure over the internet. Fifth one is ensure the blueprint files are stored in archive storage tier. Coming to the sixth one, it says that ensure that partner access to the blueprint files is secure and temporary. Then we have prevent user passwords or hashes of passwords from being stored in Azure. The next technical requirement says that use unmanaged standard storage for the hard disk of the virtual machines. The second last requirement is that ensure that when user join devices to Azure Active Directory, the users uses a mobile phone to verify their identity. So this one here, the second last requirement is kind of multi-factor authentication. And then we have the last requirement that says that minimize administrative effort wherever possible. There is one more type of requirements, and that is user requirements. It says that Blackboard identifies the following requirements for the users. The first one is ensure that only users who are part of a group named Pilot can join the devices to Azure AD. The second one here is that designate a new user named Admin1 as the service admin for the Azure subscription. Third one given is Admin1 must receive email alerts regarding service outages. And the fourth one given is ensure that a new user named User3 can create network objects for the Azure subscription. So those were all the details given in the case study. We started with an overview section followed by existing environment details. And after that, we had requirement section, which was further divided into 3 subsections. The first one was planned changes, and the second one was technical requirements. And lastly, we have user requirements. Now let's move ahead and read the question based on this case study. So here comes our first question, which says that you need to configure the device settings to meet the technical requirements and the user requirements. Which 2 settings should you modify? And here you can see that we are given with some of the settings from the Azure portal, and out of all these settings, you have to choose 2 settings that will meet the technical requirements and the user requirements. The first setting given here is that user may join the devices to Azure AD. Should we keep the all option here, or should we go for the selected option, or should we go for the none option? Then we have users may register their devices with Azure AD. Here you have to choose between all and none. Similarly, for the require multi-factor authentication to join devices, you have to choose between yes and no. Going ahead, you are also given with the maximum number of devices per user. Here it says the value of 50. Lastly, you are also given with additional local administrator on Azure AD joint devices. Here you have to select between selected and none setting. And friends, before I reveal the correct answer, I just want to add that I will try my best not to just give you the answer, but also give you proper justification. And on top of that, to make you better understand, I will also map the answers with the relevant parts of the case study. So you will know that which requirement or section of the question are we fulfilling. Is it the user requirement or technical requirement or any other section? I hope that you will like this presentation concept. So here comes the answer. The first setting that you have to change is in this section, which says users may join devices to Azure AD. So here, instead of already selected all option, you have to go for the selected option. Then moving on, the other setting that you need to change is this one, which says require multi-factor authentication to joint devices. Here you have to choose yes instead of the already selected no. And here comes the justification section, and this tells you that only selected users should be able to join the devices. Which requirement are we talking about? We are talking about user requirement section. Similarly, the other requirement that we are talking about is that ensure that when users join devices to Azure Active Directory, the users use a mobile phone to verify their identity. And which is this requirement? This one is technical requirement. So you can see that we have met both technical requirement and user requirement as asked in the question. And I have also told you which user requirement and technical requirement are we fulfilling with these answers. So hope you have understood. In case you don't remember the technical and user requirement, please go back to the previous section of the video and reiterate all the requirements. Now let's move ahead with the second question. Here comes the second question, which says that you need to meet user requirement for admin 1. What should you do? Your options are from the Azure Active Directory blade, modify the groups. Second option is from the Azure Active Directory blade, modify the properties. The third option is from the subscription blade, select the subscription and then modify the access control setting. The fourth option is from the subscription blade, select the subscription and then modify the properties. And before I tell you the correct answer, let's see which user requirement are we talking about. So here, my friends, we can see that we are trying to fulfill two user requirements. The first one is designate a new user named admin1 as the service admin for the Azure subscription. And the second one is admin1 must receive email alerts regarding service outages. So friends, whenever you are giving case studies, please read the requirement section very carefully. Microsoft will not clearly outlay which user requirement it is talking about. That is you who has to make that decision. And that's why I'm showing you how the requirements are getting mapped with the question and with the answer. So let's check out the answer for this question. It is option D. From the subscription blade, select the subscription and then modify the properties. Now let's move on to the question number 3. It says that you need to implement a backup solution for app 1 after the application is moved. What should you create first? Should you first create a recovery plan? The option B is an Azure backup server. The option C is a backup policy. The option D is a recovery services vault. Once again, let me tell you which requirement section are we going to fulfill with this question. So this question is actually mapped with 3 requirements. The first one is there are 3 application tier, each with 5 virtual machine. Which requirement is that? This is coming from the existing requirement section. And then we have move all the virtual machines for app 1 to Azure. This is coming from technical requirement. And lastly, we have ensured that all the virtual machines for app 1 are protected by backup. And this is coming again from technical requirements. Now let me show you the answer. The answer is again option D, a recovery services vault. So what is the justification of this? Justification says that a recovery services vault is a logical container that stores the backup data for each protected resource such as Azure virtual machines. When the backup job for a protected resource run, it creates a recovery point inside the recovery services vault. So that's why we have chosen a recovery services vault. And friends, if you are still here, I'm sure that you're learning good. Please make sure to like this video. It takes a lot of effort and time to bring up these kind of case studies. Moving ahead, we have question number 4, and that says that you need to move the blueprint files to Azure. What should you do? Your options are generate an access key, map a drive, and then copy the files by using File Explorer. The second one is use Azure Storage Explorer to copy the files. The third one is use the Azure Import Export service. Fourth one is generate a shared access signature, also known as SAS, map a drive and then copy the files by using File Explorer. And as always, first let me reveal the requirement section that we are trying to fulfill by this question or the answer. And the first requirement that we are fulfilling is move the existing product blueprint file to the Azure Blob Storage. From where this requirement is coming? This requirement is coming from the planned changes section. Moving ahead, we have copied the blueprint files to Azure over the internet. This is coming from the technical requirement section. Okay, so now that you have understood what requirements are we going to fulfill, let me reveal the answer. The answer to this question is option B, use Azure Storage Explorer to copy the files. And here comes the justification. So Azure Storage Explorer is a free tool from Microsoft that allows you to work with Azure storage data on Windows, Mac OS and Linux. You can use it to upload and download data from Azure Blob Storage. And this brings us to the question number 5. The question says that you need to identify storage requirements for the Blackboard incorporations. For each of the following statement, select yes if the statement is true, otherwise select no. Let's read the first statement. It says that Blackboard requires a storage account that supports blob storage. So you have to figure out whether it's a correct statement, then you select yes, otherwise you have to select no. So could you guess the correct answer? If yes, maybe pause the video and write down the correct answer in the comment section. For now, I will reveal the correct answer, which is yes. This is a correct statement. Moving ahead, we have Blackboard requires a storage account that supports Azure Table Storage. This one is no. So this is not a correct statement. And lastly, the third statement says Blackboard requires a storage account that supports Azure File Storage. This one again is a no, which means this is also an incorrect statement. Now let me give you a quick justification. Here it says that Blackboard is moving the existing product blueprint files to Azure Blob Storage. And for this objective, you should use unmanaged standard storage for the hard disk of the virtual machines. And of course, under the hood, page blobs are used for the hard disk of virtual machines. Now let's move on to the question number 6. The question says that you need to recommend a solution for app 1. The solution must meet the technical requirements. What should you include in the recommendation? To answer, select the appropriate option in the answer area. Here you can see that we are given with 2 sections here. Do you actually still remember the technical requirements? In case you don't, please go back to the section of technical requirements and read them once again very carefully. But for now, to ease out your work, here are the requirements that we are talking about. In existing requirement, we are trying to fulfill this one, which says that you have a public facing application named app1, which is also given in the question here. Then it says that app 1 is comprised of the following 3 tiers. The 3 tiers we are given with is SQL database, a web front end, and then we have a processing middle tier. Then the technical requirement that we need to fulfill is that each tier is comprised of 5 virtual machines. Users access the web front end by using HTTPS. So what exactly we need to do? We need to move all the virtual machines for app 1 to Azure, and then we need to minimize the number of open ports between app 1 tiers. So now let's check out the answer. The answer for number of networks is 1. And the answer for number of subnets per virtual network is 3. Now let's jump to the last question for today, and this one is question number 7. The question says that you are planning to move app 1 to Azure. You need to create a network security group, or also known as NSG. You need to recommend a solution to provide users with the access to app 1. What should you recommend? Your options are create an incoming security rule for port 443 from the internet, associate the NSG to the subnet that contains the web servers. The second option is create an outgoing security rule for the port 443 from the internet, associate the NSG to the subnet that contains all the web servers. And the third option is create an incoming security rule for port 443 from the internet, associate the NSG to all the subnets. The last one given is create an outgoing security rule for port 443 from the internet, associate the NSG to all the subnets. Here we are talking about the requirements from the existing environment section, which says that you have a public facing application named app 1. App 1 comprises of 3 following tiers. We have SQL database, we have a front end, and then we also have a processing middle tier. And finally it says each tier is comprised of 5 virtual machines. User access the web front end by using HTTPS. And the correct answer for this question is option A. Create an incoming security rule for port 443 from the internet. Associate the NSG to the subnet that contains the web servers. And I'm pretty sure that you want to know the justification. Justification is that the users access the web front end by only using HTTPS. And that's why we have chosen option A, where we have to create a security rule for port 443 from the internet and also associate the NSG to the subnets that contains the web servers. I hope you liked the case study and it will surely help you prepare better for the Azure certification. Now here are few tips. First of all, case study type of questions will really test you on your actual working knowledge. You have to answer a series of multiple choice questions, hot area questions, etc. All these questions are designed to test your ability to critically analyze a situation and apply practical Azure knowledge to reach to a solution. So here comes my first tip on case study. Read through the case study and understand the business situation thoroughly. Secondly, a very important exam tip is that you should not assume anything which is not written in the case study. And thirdly, my friends, it's very easy to lose the time track, especially when you're giving the case study type of question. Though there is no time limit for the case study itself, but surely there is a time limit for the overall exam. So be very cautious on the time that you devote on each section. And friends, just so you know, there is a countdown clock in the top corner that you can use to track your remaining time for the exam. And to help you better prepare for AZ-104 and DP-203, we have already a video series with loads of question bank. Many of our viewers have already watched these videos and cleared their certification exams. And friends, we also have a Azure Fundamental series which is currently going on and it is fully synced with Microsoft syllabus. Besides that, we also have a huge question bank on AZ-900, almost 326 questions, a hugely popular series which many of the users have already seen and cleared their AZ-900. All these videos will surely help you pass certifications with flying colors. Links to all these videos are given in the description box. So that was all for today. I hope that with the sample case study that we covered in the part 1 of this series and with this real case study that we just covered, you must have gotten a fair idea on case studies in AZ-104. In the coming episodes, I will bring you more exciting case studies. In fact, I will soon launch updated questions on AZ-104. So do subscribe to the channel and make sure to press that bell icon to receive timely notifications of our all upcoming videos on Azure certifications. Thank you so much for your precious time and learning with us. I will see you in the next video. Till then, stay fit, keep learning, and thanks for watching.
If this video has added any value in your learning, a like and subscribe is highly appreciated. Share this video in your family and friends to spread and expand their learning. Your comments and feedback give me a chance to interact with you and I look forward for them. We will meet again in our next video. Till then, stay fit, keep learning, and thanks for watching.